Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Hey, pura vida, mi gente. Hey, thanks for taking the time to be here. Shout out to all the morning people. We live. I get a whole different crowd in the mornings and I know a lot of you be in both, but I do get like a different crowd in the mornings and when I go live at night. So that's pretty cool. We gotta alternate. So again, today we're gonna be doing part four, right? Part four of what? Part four of the reading we've been doing, right? Sacred mysteries among the Maya and Quiche, 11,500 years ago, supposedly, right? But we pull out the babies, we touch the hijacks, but we're getting pretty much informed and also corroborating with our research what we already know about America being the true old world, all right? And you see the cover here, I got some Jaguar kings right here, some Khans. You guys are gonna see what we're talking about. This book already went over the Khan dynasty, right? Khans coming from the Americas, right? So I got that from this rollout picture. It's a rolled out vase, so like a cup or a vase. That's an original Maya vase right here, guys, which was rolled out. Shout out to Justin Kerr for the great collection he got, the Kerr collection. For doing this and putting it online for everybody to see. So make sure the music's not too loud. So, we're gonna be talking about so-called leopards, right? Leopard skins, right? And so-called ancient Egypt, right? So when we know ancient Egypt, and we're gonna go over that again today, is really in the Americas. We overstand, not understand, but we overstand. We're talking about jaguars, and that's what the people over here dress like. The kings, the warriors. This is an elite group. You could even see the Black Panther right here. Check it out. See the last one? All the way to the left. He got a black jaguar on skin. Black Panther. Wakanda forever. All right. All right, so we're in part four. Let me pull out the book. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna get it started, no matter who's here. All right. Salute everybody. Thank you for coming through. So it says here, sacred mysteries among the Mayas and the Quiches, 11,500 years ago. Their relation to the sacred mysteries of Egypt, Greece, Chaldea, and India. Ancient Chaldea and Egypt, and India. What India? Freemasonry in times anterior to the Temple of Solomon by Augustus Le Plongeon, 1886. We're gonna go right to where we left off, right in the last part. We get right into it. Right. Because the family name of the kings of the Mayaks was Khan. Khan. Oh, y'all want to be Khans and stuff. What you mean we want to be Khans? We are the Khans. Serpent as Khan, priest king, right? Is still the title of the kings of Tartary and Burma. So who's the Tartarians then? And of the governor of provinces in Persia, Afghanistan, and other countries in Central Asia. Khan was therefore the family name of Ak. The meaning of the writer of Genesis when he says that the serpent spoke to the woman and seduced her with a fruit is now easily understood. The account of the fratricide in Genesis in the Ramayana or in the papyri of Egypt is nothing more or less with a slight variance than the story of the feuds of King Kong's children. King Kong. Talking about the real King Kong, not the Hollywood version. You gotta press her up. You just gotta press her up. Shout out to Con Drop, yo. Shout out to all the cons out there. Yeah. So it says this story treasured by the priests of Egypt and India. Which ones? We're talking about ancient in Egypt was here. And what India? India superior, North America, or India inferior? Or minor India? So what are you talking about Egypt and America? All right, we'll get to that. Co-signed in their sacred books and poems has been handed down to us among the primitive traditions of mankind. Okay, he's about to tell you where that origin is coming from. But before we do that, keep talking about Egypt. I'm going to keep bringing this up because we're talking about masonry, right? And all these symbolic ceremonial practices, religious observances, and all that other stuff that became, right? So we're talking about the ancient mystic Oriental masonry, its teachings, rules, laws, and present usages which govern the order of the present day. True masonry in the universal brotherhood of man or one, they're saying. This is by Dr. R. Swinburne Clymer. All right, you see what he's down with. So we go to page 25. We got it highlighted just in case you forgot. The cradle of the symbolism used in all masonry is played by many of the best authorities of that country, which they believe was first inhabited, for example, the plateau of Tartary, right? And from there, transmitted to this generation by the sages of India, Persia, Ethiopia, and Egypt. That's the main story, right? That's kind of like what they try to tell people. But we are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion or masonry, but to America. But to America. It is a fact that at Memphis, Egypt, yeah, which one? There's a Memphis right on the Mississippi, on the real now, right here. It says in the pyramids, under the guidance of the kings, the mystic rites of masonry were worked many thousands of years ago. But at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. Were one and the same again. Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. One and the same. And in America, which was rediscovered, can't rediscover. You can't discover a place where there's millions of people already there. There's no logic in that. So they didn't discover anything. So either way, it says in the 15th century, rediscovered and repopulated in the 17th was recovered Egypt and the promised land. This is Egypt. This is the promise, the true holy land. This is the true old world, or the land of the constellation of the eagle. Break out of empty your cup. You gotta empty your cup. All right. And secondly, with the consequent wrecking of the continent of America, when the globe became involved in the consequences of the disorder of the skies, America, known to the mystic as Atlantis, they know this stuff. These mystics, they know America was known as Atlantis. And when this ruin befell, was the seat of the greatest empire that has ever existed. And its irresistible armies were terrorizing all Europe and Asia. Okay? They were afraid. That's why they got the story of Plato and all that. They were afraid. America, Atlantis, it will be seen that the people of the eagle, on the now being descended from the original people of the eagle on this continent, the twain are one, and that prehistoric America was the original Egypt. Again, prehistoric America was the original Egypt or Eagle Land prior to the mighty dispensation. In the days of Peleg, when the earth was divided and the great globe itself was nearly rent asunder, Agassiz, first born among the continents of America, has been falsely denominated the New World. It has been falsely denominated the New World. Hers was the first dry land lifted out of the waters. All right. Just wanted to go ahead and break that down for you in case you're new to the channel. You just happen to catch this video for who knows what reason and what, but hey, you're here for a reason. Now you understand. So when we talking about the priests of Egypt in India, oh, we already got India broken down too. We gotta catch up to the videos. Talking about India Superior, which one? So, because these are the story of the King Khan's children. King Khan. So they're saying all these stories became part of the sacred books and poems of the old world. And they were handed down to people among the primitive traditions of mankind. And nowhere, remember, we're back in the book Sacred Mysteries Among the Maya and Quiche by Augustus Le Plongeon. Nowhere except in Mayax, which means first risen out of the waters, just like Louis Agassiz, the geologist, confirmed, do we find it as forming part of the history of the nation. Nowhere except in the Americas do we find an origin to all this stuff. It's part of the history of these nations. Nowhere except in Mayax do we find the portraits of the actors in the tragedy. There, we not only see their portraits carved in bas reliefs on stone or wood, or their marble statues in the round or represented in the mural painting that adorn the walls of the funeral chamber built to the memory of the victim, but we discovered the ornaments they wore, the weapons they used, nay, more, their mortal remains. All right, their what? Their mortal remains. What does he mean about that? Talking about these were real people, not just deities. These people became deities in the mythology of so-called Greece and so-called ancient Egypt, Babylonia, Syria. This is what we're showing you. This is what we've been showing you. The following is the certificate of Charles O. Thompson, principal and professor of chemistry at the Worcester Free Institute, who made the chemical analysis of part of the cremated remains found in the stone urn that was near the chest of the statue that occupied the center of the mausoleum, raised to the memory of the famous warrior Ko. Remember, that's Queen Mu's brother and husband. Just like Isis married her brother, and it was also her husband, right? Osiris. 20 feet below the upper plane of the monument. Are we talking about Ko's not just a mythical person in the Maya mythology? He was a real king. He was a real person. Augustus Le Plongeon found his body, his burial, the whole story. He interpreted the Maya glyphs using old, so-called Egyptian writing. So it says here, Worcester, Mass, September 25th, 1880. Stephen Salisbury, Jr., Esquire, submits an unknown solid for qualitative examination. Under microscope, it presents a certain compactness and horny aspect characteristic of animal. Sorry. All right, and here it shows a jaguar, right? Like a man jaguar. All right, remember the spots, all right? So, animal matter which has been charred in closed vessel. It loses 9% when dried at 100 degrees and 9% more by combustion. After calcination in dross and residue remains which contain 3% phenic oxide, a little alumina and much silica. Warm water exposed to action of residue shows traces of potash and soda. These results are consistent with the theory that the mass was once part of a human body which has been burned with some fuel. Charles O. Thompson. Talking about real people here. There is a fact certainly worthy of notice, and this is that the names of the personages mentioned in the various accounts of the fratricide are precisely identical, or are words having the same signification, may not be regarded as unimpeachable proof that they all refer to the same event. All right, he's asking, may not this be regarded as unimpeachable proof? No one who has any knowledge of philology will ever deny that a Baal Baal-e or Baali, Balaam are identical words. A, contradiction of ah. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Oh. So a contradiction of ah is the Maya masculine article the. Baal is the radical of Balaam. Balaam is for the superstitious aborigines, even today. The Yumil Cox, the Lord of the Fields, the leopard, right, in parentheses. So we're talking about in America, right? We're talking about Mayas. So no, they're not talking about leopards, right? They're talking about jaguars, right? Jaguars. Because they're talking about somebody wearing a skin of a cat, you know, a spotted cat. And we're in the Americas, we're talking about jaguars. Leopards are from Africa, guys. That's how they hijack. That's how they trick us when we see, and he's going to talk about it. Egyptian hieroglyphics with Egyptians with so-called leather or leopard spotted skins. That was actually representations of ancient Americans. Jaguars, guys. They trick us. So it says, the leopard which they call Ko. The totem of the victim of Ak is the leopard, and it is so represented in the bas-reliefs and sculptures. In Egypt, the spotted skin of the leopard, this is what I'm saying, this is what I was just talking about, so that's the hijack right away, guys. We're talking about in ancient Egypt, right? Prehistoric America was the original Egypt. Let me not forget, that's why I read this, so you guys apply it. So when they're talking about spotted skin leopards, right? Spotted skin leopards. Yeah. So it says, I'm going to read, right? In Egypt, the spotted skin of the leopard, right? Jaguar, usually without the head, but sometimes with it, was always suspended near the images and statues of Osiris. All right. Now let me go back. You got to have perspective. All right. So they're saying Osiris always had so-called leopard skin. You know, Osiris is a corn deity and he is a Westerner. And we found Osiris's statues all over the Americas. Yeah. Let me see if I can show you guys that. Because we're live. I got it somewhere. Here we go. So here's one. I'm gonna show you guys. This is from a book, anthropological, archaeological book. Yeah. So Historia de la Nación Mexicana, and it says here. Oh, yeah, this was in a French book. So yeah, remember. So they found this in El Salvador, right? These two little statues right here. They found in El Salvador, in Acajutla. All right, in Acajutla. I got another image. Okay. See, statue is found in San Salvador. Have we here an archaic Egyptian style? It's Osiris and Isis, guys. Or what Le Plejon is trying to tell us, like, you know, these were real people. Queen Mu. Isis means little sister. In Isis, in the Maya means little sister. They were brothers and sisters, supposedly. Isis and Osiris. Okay, so I got another one. Hold on. I got another one. I got more. This is like another drawing of it. This is a drawing of it. And this is the video I have on. If you haven't watched the video, I read the whole thing. I translate it. You know, this is there's no denying it where they found this stuff, guys. All right. So I don't know what you guys are saying. I'm gonna go back to the book. Okay. Yeah. All right. You guys enjoying? Okay, we're good. Okay. So again, this says the skin of we're gonna fix this. The skin of the jaguar was worn as a mantle in ancient Egypt, right? We're talking about America, right? Was worn as a mantle over the ceremonial dress of his priest. Besides, when represented as king of the Amenti of the West, okay? The West, the symbol of Osiris was always a crouching jaguar with an open eye over it. We must not lose sight of the fact that the leopard skin or jaguar skin worn by Nimrod and Bacchus. So where are they really? If these are real people, right? Because we're not just talking about mythology, right? You guys, we're not just talking about mythology. Like people actually wore this stuff. Kings, and you see these are swarthy people, right? This is how they drew themselves. Okay, so we are helping, we are adding to Augustus Lepler-Jones' research. We are clarifying certain things. That's why he's making all this correlation. Like he's about to make a point. That's where he's getting to. He's trying to, because he knows he has to talk like he's the hijack, because he's got to teach the hijacks. You know, he's trying to convince them that this is the true old world. But we're talking about real history, right? Versus mythology, right? But this mythology is based on a real history, guys. So let's not lose sight of the fact that Nimrod and Bacchus had jaguar skins, okay? We're talking about true old world. America was a sacred appendage to the mysteries. The jaguar skin, listen. It was used in the Eleusinian as well as in the Egyptian mysteries, instituted in honor of Osiris. So they can look like Osiris, and Osiris is from here. So we are talking about jaguar skin. It is mentioned in the earliest speculations by the Brahmins on the meaning of their sacrificial prayers to the Aitareya Brahmana, and is used in the Agnishtoma, the initiation rites of the Soma mysteries. When the neophyte is to be born again, he is covered with a jaguar skin, out of which he emerges as from his mother's womb. Out of which a jaguar skin is worn by the African warriors. See, they have leopards, right? Because that's where they have to mimic. So yeah, modern day people in Africa wear leopard skins. But what are we saying here? The tradition was based on mimicking so-called Osiris or whatever they're saying here. It has an origin. People don't just start doing, they're copying the ancient people that were actually doing this. You know, again, when we talking about prehistoric America, that was the original Egypt. All right. That was the original Egypt. Egypt and the Promised Land was found here. Thousands of years ago, at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. Boom, boom. So, a jaguar skin is worn. They wear the leopard now by the African warriors who are so fortunate as to possess one, as a charm to render them invulnerable to spears, according to the French traveler Paul du Chaillu. It would seem as if the manner in which Cole met his death by being stabbed with a spear had been known. All right, here's another image. All right, the statues he's finding where he's talking about the archaeological site of Cole and Queen Mu, right? Uxmal, I think, is one of them, and the other one, Chichen, near Chichen. I think he was telling us. So, see, I hate when it does that though, because it cuts us off. So we were talking about. So he had been stabbed. They had been known about the spear, had been known to their ancestors, and that they imagined that wearing his totem would save them from being wounded with the same kind of weapon used in killing him. That the inhabitants of Africa had communications with those of the Western continent, there can be no doubt. Since populations of, now he's going with out of Africa theories, of black people existed in the Isthmus of Panama. So, okay, we've proven that, yeah, there was so-called black people here. We had all the shades of copper, from the darkest copper to the lightest copper. It's not really black like a crayon color black. You get what I'm saying? But all types of hair, all types of phenotype, woolly too. I'm not saying not woolly, straight, wavy, frizzy, as they call it, curly. So Augustus Le Plongeon letting them know in the 1880s, hey, there was so-called black people here. Right? So he's giving an example of Panama. I don't know why he's doing that. That's one of forget his names, one of the conquistadors' accounts of meeting so-called black Indians in Panama, right? So he said they existed in the Isthmus of Panama and other localities at the time of the first arrival of the Spaniards. Besides, their pictures can be seen in the mural painters at Chichen. So he's talking about phenotypes that he's associating with West Africans, right? This is the thing I had to, like the other day, I had to be clear with the AI, like, hey, don't tell me don't add no African conjectures into these black Europeans. If there is no primary source showing you or any proof that they came from Africa, don't add that conjecture and call them Africans just because you're finding so-called black Europeans. And then it was like, yeah, you're right. These are words associated to supposedly be an African. Certain phenotypes, certain words, right? So what he's trying to say is that there was black folks coming from Africa over here, and that's why there was black people. No, that's not what we're saying, Augustus. There was so-called black people here since creation. This is the oldest land coming out of the waters. That we forget this is ancient Egypt. I guess he wasn't that far in degrees. He must have not came across the Rosicrucian, what they were saying. But again, more proof, more hear from somebody else, so-called black Indians, huh? I still picking on the AI. Yeah, yo, that be bugging, man. Yeah, of course I gotta pick on it. Because it's programmed by the hijack, and so the hijack leaks out. You get it? So anyways, as to the name Osir, or be it Osil, it would seem to be a nickname given to Ko, on account of the great love his sisters and the people in general profess for him. Osil is a Maya verb that means to desire vehemently. He, therefore, who was very much desired, dearly beloved. Osil, Osir, huh? Osiris, Osil, beloved, dearly beloved. That's what it means. Huh? Osiris in Egypt, Abel in Chaldea, Bali in India are myths. It's all mythology, like I was saying earlier, right? But in Ko, or in America, in Mayaks, it's a reality. It's a real person, a warrior, whose mausoleum I have opened, whose weapons and jade ornaments are in my possession, whose heart I have found, and a piece of which was analyzed by Professor Thompson, whose statue, with his name inscribed on the tablets occupying the place of the ears, I have unearthed, and which is now in the National Museum of the City of Mexico. He's not lying, guys. Augustus gets no recognition as an archaeologist. He helped them find mad stuff. They got it in their museums today. And we're going to go over one of those that are in the museums, very famous stone statue. They're calling it a sacrificial table and stuff like that. But this is one of those that he found. And that was related to Prince Ko and Queen Mu. Real people. So one of the most precious relics in that institution, right, in the National Museum of the City of Mexico, having been robbed from me, they took it from him. They robbed him by force of arms. The government came and took it from him by the Mexican authorities. You guys hear that? So they snatched it from him. It says Isis was the wife and sister of Osiris. You guys know that, right? In their mythology, right? Well, it was the National Museum of Mexico, right? But yeah, they all work the same, right? The word Isis may simply be a dialectical mode of pronouncing the Maya word Isins. Itzin. Look, Isin, Isins, the younger sister. Isin, the younger sister. Her headgear as a goddess was a vulture. That bird was her totem and the peculiar type of maternity. Isis was often called the great mother goddess, Mau. Mayu. A word certainly as suggestive of the name. Here's a little drawing. It says Mu. Now we're going on. So that's Isis and Osiris. Now look at the similarities. Mu, sister and wife of Ko, and queen of Chichen Itza, right? I told you. As the vulture is of the macaw. So vulture, macaw, a bird symbolizes both. It must not be forgotten that one of the titles of Isis was the royal wife and sister. And there is a depiction of Isis as a macaw. Okay? Let me see if I can find that, if I have it. I know that people that actually... So I'm just gonna... think this is one of them. Just showing her like a bird. All right. The macaw. That look like a vulture to you? Okay, hold on. I think I got more. These are just like macaw who got red feathers. Vultures got red feathers. Oh. So I'm gonna have to do a video on all this so I can have all the examples like online. Let's see if we put Isis, bird. Yeah. So they call her the vulture, but it's not really a vulture. So the macaw. See the red feathers? Okay. If you go into it, you guys will know what I'm talking about. Eventually you'll see one and she looks like literally like a macaw. So Queen Mu is the macaw. It must not be forgotten that one of the titles of Isis was the royal wife and sister, right? So pointing that out. All right, so this statue right here is the one I was talking about, okay? Where there's a guy like kind of leaning on his back and like the middle is open. They're trying to say that was a sacrificial table, and that's what they tell us. But that's part of Prince Co right here. This is what Gossos Leplejón found and what they have in the National Museum of Mexico, you know, parading it around. All right. It says authors who of course know nothing of the facts in the ancient history of Mayaks revealed to me by the sculptures and the mural paintings of the temples and palaces of the Mayas and contained in the pages of the Truano manuscript, do not believe that Osiris and his sister Isis were deified persons who had lived on earth, but fabulous beings, made-up beings, whose history was founded on metaphysical speculations. That's that net, what's that called? Nether, ether, and that's all created by Germans. And nothing to do with Africans. Like they didn't create this. So what Pan-Africans be found that Kemetic yeah. And adapted to certain phenomena of nature. They try to say, nah, it's not real people, it's symbolic, it's metaphysical. Yeah, Jabari. Yeah, the Scotsman Jabari. The Scotsman. His ancestor Guinea Jim was from Scotland, a black Scottish man. He tried to make African. Yeah, Jabari, the Pan-African scammer, pseudo scammer. Anyways, but the primitive rulers of Mayas, right? So according to our experts, right, they try to say, oh, these so-called Egyptologists, right, and all these historians, oh no, those are just, made up beings, man. They're metaphysical, man. It's about nature, man. Sometimes you get too wise, you get too dumb. Sometimes you get so wise that you become a little ignorant because now you're going against logical stuff. But the primitive rulers of the Mayas, whose history is an exact counterpart of that of the children of Seb and Nut, were deified after their death and worshipped as gods of elements. My object is not here to enter into long explanations, the historical disclosures. I refer the reader who wishes to know more of the subject to my work, The Monuments of Mayaks and the Historical Teachings. And that's, literally a book I haven't even heard of. So we're going to look for that book for sure. We're going to look for that for sure. Okay. So as to the names Cain, Seth, Sogriva, Ak, they all convey the idea of something belonging to or having affinity with water. Cain by apocope gives K, the Maya word for fish. Set is a cognate word of the Maya se, to ill-treat with blows. Can a name be more appropriate to designate one who has killed his brother with 3 thrusts of his spear and his sister by kicking her to death, as Ak is represented doing by the authors of the Troano manuscript? Set, after being treated with the same honor as the other members of the family of Seb, came to be regarded as the evil principle and was called Nupti, that is, according to the Maya language, the adversary. Literally what shaitan means. Satan literally means adversary, guys. Wow. The adversary. From Nup, adversary, and T, for he also was the sun god and the enemy of the serpent, of the Dracons. Here again we have a most singular resemblance, to say the least. Ak in the sculptures of Mayaks is always pictured surrounded by the sun as his protecting genius, while the serpent, emblem of the country, always shields Ko and his sister wife within its folds. The escutcheon of the city of Uxmal shows that the title of that metropolis was the land of the sun. In the bas-reliefs of the Queen's Chamber at Chichen, the followers of Ak are seen to render homage to the sun, the friends of Mu to the serpent. So in Mayaks, as in Egypt, the sun and the serpent were inimical. In Egypt, this enmity was a myth. In Mayaks, a dire reality. Right, we ain't talking about just mythology and legacies. That's what a lot of you Pan-Africans don't understand or want to. Got no origin, no proof of origin. It's all mythology. It's all just a legacy. Just came out of nowhere. You even admitted yourself, it just came out of nowhere. And then you try to relate it to aliens and all this other crazy stuff. We're talking about real things here, reality. All right, and we're talking about, oh, they're worshiping the sun. How do you know? Just because they were looking up? Just because they're looking up, you're saying they're worshiping the sun. That's their interpretation of all this stuff. So, but what he's trying to point out is, look, it's literally the exact same. And we have a real people, and then we got mythology. Which one you think is the real? The real one, right? The hippopotamus and the crocodile were emblems of Set. Plutarch says that at Hermopolis there was a statue of Set, which was hippopotamus with a hawk upon its back fighting with a serpent. What type of hawk? This is the other thing. Got to pay attention to these animals they're drawing in the Egyptian hieroglyphs. They're all from America. These are species that belong to the Americas. But that's something, because if you're stuck in a belief, you're stuck in a certain narrative and belief, you might not see, you might be blinded by these things. You might not even notice. might not even pay attention, don't even know that. You might not care to look into that because you don't want it to be true. But what was recovered here in America was Egypt and the Promised Land. Thousands of years ago, at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. That prehistoric America was the original Egypt or Eagle Land prior to the mighty dispensation. America is Atlantis. So both the hippopotamus and the crocodile are amphibious animals having consequently much affinity with water. Ak in Maya is the name for the turtle, all right? Also an amphibious animal. The name Sugriva of the brother of Bali is a word composed of 3 Maya primitives: Suk, lib, ha, suk, quiet, tranquil, lib, to ascend, and ha, water. He who tranquility rises on the water, as the turtle does. Just like the turtle, man. The universal deluge is another tradition of the early days that was credited by certain civilized nations of antiquity. The Egyptian priests who, from times immemorial, had kept in the archives of the temples a faithful account of all events worthy of being remembered, derided the Greek philosophers when they spoke of the deluge of Deucalion and the destruction of the human race. Their answer was that as they had been preserved from it, the inundation could not have been universal. They even added that the Hellenes were childish in attaching so much importance to that event, as there had been several other local catastrophes resembling it. They told Solon that the greatest cataclysm on record in their books was that during which Atlantis disappeared under the waves of the oceans, right? But what do they know? America, known to the mystics as Atlantis, right? When this ruin befell, that's what they're talking about, when the water was the seat of the greatest empire, all right? It befell, huh? So it was prehistoric America was original Egypt and Atlantis in the days of Peleg when the earth was divided and the great globe itself was nearly rent asunder. Going back, right? So Atlantis disappeared under the waves of the ocean, huh? So not all of it sank is what I'm trying to explain to you guys. Yeah, a lot of it sank and there's a big memory of a great flood and lands going down and all that. But in general, the whole earth kind of has, the waters have risen in general. The coasts were, there was more coast, there was more land, but it was not all of it sunk is what we're trying to tell you. We're still here, a lot of it. So what disappeared? It's empire. It's hold on the earth. It's everything. It's whole existence as an empire. And one day and night, in consequence of violent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, that from that time all communications between their people and the inhabitants of the lands of the West had been interrupted. The occurrence having taken place 9,000 years before his visit to Egypt, right? What Egypt? Solon, he went to America. What Egypt? Ancient Egypt is here. An account of that fearful event was also preserved by the learned men of Mayaks, who give of it a description identical with that given by the Egyptians. Nearly all the nations living on the Western continent have kept the tradition of it, but they do not pretend that all mankind was destroyed. They don't pretend, they don't be like, everybody. In Mayaks, the learned priest caused the relation of it to be carved in intaglio on the stone that forms the lintel over the interior doorway in the rooms on the south side of their college. The building is known to this day by the name of Akab Sib, the dark or terrible writing. The author of the Toronto manuscript, a work I have already said on geology, dedicates several pages at the beginning of the second part to the recital of that fearful cataclysm and the phenomena which then took place. This leaves no longer room for doubting that a large continent existed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and which was destroyed within the memory of a man, and that the narrative by Plato of the submersion of Atlantis is in the main correct. Yeah, it's a little correct. A little correct, yeah. But America, known to the mystics, is Atlantis. This is Atlantis. Just like Francis Bacon said, America, known as Atlantis, just like Francis Bacon said. The Maya author represents the lost land by the figure of a black man with red lips. Wow, what? Say what? What you talking about, man? Can't make this up, guys. Which would imply that it was mostly inhabited by a race of black men, huh? So-called black, copper-colored tribes of America. Do you guys hear what he's saying? I want to see that. I want to see what he's talking about, that figure. In this case, the presence of black-skinned populations on the western continent anterior to the advent of the Spaniards would be easily accounted for. All right. We're going to have to highlight that part. This whole part right here. Like, we already have proven this, guys. Like, I'm just saying, like, when is everybody else going to eventually get it and catch up and stop trying to Africanize everybody? Having so-called black skin, so-called, doesn't mean you automatically came from Africans. That's an out of Africa theory based on a theory. Theories are not facts based on bones. They're trying to relate to humans, but are actually ape bones. Lucy and all these people are apes, guys. Not modern type humans. The Mayas like the Egyptians. Oh, where'd it go? So the Maya, like the Egyptians, but the Egyptians are from ancient America, right? That's why. Represented the world as an old man. Plutarch says they called east the face, north the right side, south the left side. This conception has reached our days. Only we reckon the east as the right hand, west the left, north the face. When the author of the Troano manuscript speaks of the master of the land, par excellence, that is King Khan, King Khan, deified, painted blue, and the head of a mastodon, right? He's an elephant, like, come on now. We're talking about King Kong was represented as an elephant. We're talking about ancient America. I thought we didn't have elephants. On the facade of the building of Chichen Itza, called by the natives Cuna, the house of God, to which Stevens, in his work on Yucatan, gives the name of Iglesia. He calls it a church. He called it a church, Stevens. They didn't say that. They said this is the house of God, not church. You want to say church, that's your interpretation of it. But what did they actually mean, really? Does it really mean like little house of God or Cuna? What's Cuna mean, huh? So Stevens calls it Iglesia, is a tableau representing the worship of that great pachyderm, whose head, with its trunk, forms the principal ornament of the temples and palaces built by the members of King Khan's family. We're talking about the real King Khan. This ain't Hollywood. This tableau is composed of the face intended for that of the mastodon. Over the trunk and between the eyes formerly existed a human head, which has been destroyed by malignant hands. It wore a royal crown, right? It destroying ancient stone sculptures. You hear that? This is still in place. On the front of it is a small portrait cut in the round of some very ancient personage. On each side of the head are square niches, containing each two now headless statues. A male and a female, they are seated. Not Indian fashion, squatting, but with the legs crossed and doubled under them, in a worshiping attitude. Each carries a symbol on their back, totem of the nation or tribe at which the Mastodon was held sacred. Under these figures are two triangles, emblems of offering and worship in Mayaks as in Egypt. It means the same thing he's trying to tell you, this symbol. Okay? So also was the other symbol, image of the honeycomb. All right, and that's like in every ancient culture. If you guys just Google that or go to YouTube, put ancient honeycomb symbology, you'll see mad videos pop up. Obviously, they're going to leave out ancient America or the Maya. But we look, this here, it's in the glyph. The image of a honeycomb, an oblation most grateful to the gods, since with the bark of the balchi tree, honey formed the principal ingredient of balchi, that beverage so pleasing to their palate. The same that under the name of nectar, Hebe served to the inhabitants of Olympus. All right, that's what they were talking about. You hear that? He's trying to tell you. So when you're reading that story of Hebe and the Olympians, the Greek mythology, right? That nectar, the nectar of the gods, that's what the balchi is, literally the balchi drink of the Maya. We're talking about real things, guys, not just mythology. You got put in mythology and legacy and all this stuff and just beliefs all these years, and you're still stuck on just that. Just beliefs. When you're going to start knowing? It is the Amrita, still enjoyed on the day of the full moon by the gods, the manis and the saints, according to the Hindus. They still do it, although it was the cause of the war between the gods and the titans, and is the origin of many sanguinary quarrels among the tribes of equatorial Africa, even in our days. Wow. These symbols leave no doubt as to the fact that the personages represented by the statues are in the act of worshiping the Mastodon. The corona of the upper cornice, that above the Mastodon's head, is formed of a peculiar wavy adornment, often met with the ornamentation of the monuments erected by the Khans. Emblematic of the serpent, it is composed of two letters, N, juxtaposed, monogram of Khan. The corona of the lower cornice is made of two characters, right? You guys see? That read in Maya, Kam or Oam, Akwam, or Sam, he of the throne, the monarch. In Japan, the 7 members of the Khan family, listen, deified and figured by the same symbols as in Mayaks, are worshipped today in the shrine of the palace at Tokyo. The shrine of the palace at Tokyo. Let's see if I can find that, guys. So the shrine of the palace at Tokyo. So they're not showing me the inside, just the outside. The Tokyo Imperial Palace. Okay. Yeah, they won't show me the inside. It must be like not for the public now, right? It might show too much. Okay, so you guys could Google it, right? Just put the Tokyo Imperial Palace, or the way he put it, that's what comes up. So it's dedicated to the goddess symbolized by a bird, right? In Japan, the Khan family is the same as the Khans, ancient Khans. This goddess calls to mind the goddess Mu of the Mayas, or Isis, of the Egyptians. In the upper part of the shrine, over and above all the other attendants who have wings and beaked noses, is seen an elephant couchant, the god of fire, standing on his back. In the midst of the flames that surrounded him is the head of a bird. So in Chichen, right, in the Maya land, we see the followers of Queen Mu, who we are informed by the author of the Toronto manuscript became the goddess of fire, carrying her totem, a bird, in their head, gears, same exact things, guys, same exact things, but in America, there's an origin. There's an origin. The Japanese claim to be offspring of the gods. Yeah, they the offspring of the gods, right? The gods. So-called gods. Who's the gods? And produce two different genealogical tables in support of their assertion. These gods, amounting to 7, are said to have reigned an almost incalculable number of years in the country. Although they assert that these primitive gods were spiritual substance and corporeal, they were succeeded by 5 terrestrial spirits or deified heroes, after whom appeared the Japanese themselves. Yeah. You guys hear that? The Japanese themselves. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Says here again, we have a reminiscence, as it were, of the 12 gods that the Egyptians told Herodotus, had governed their country an incalculable number of years before the reign of Menes, the first terrestrial king. These gods were converted by the Greeks into the 12 deities, dwellers of the Olympus, right? It's the same people, same, and these, you know, it's going to go back to so-called Atlantis, America. These gods were converted by the Greeks to the 12 deities, dwellers of the Olympics, just like 12 tribes of Israel, huh? The 12 serpent heads brought to light by me in December 1883 from the center of the mausoleum of the High Pontiff Kai, or Ko, right? At Chichen Itza are emblematic of the 12 rulers who had reigned in Mayaks. They reigned in, these are people who actually reigned here for real, in times anterior to the great cataclysm when Atlantis was submerged. Oh, I get it. You're talking about when America was known as Egypt. It was the same. That's what you're talking about, huh? Thousands of years ago, right? And at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same, right? We're talking about prehistory, right? Before Atlantis, right? We're talking about prehistoric America was the original Egypt or Eagle Land prior to the mighty dispensation, prior to that, whatever happened, right? So they were the 12 rulers who had reigned in Mayaks in times anterior to the great cataclysm when Atlantis was submerged, whose portraits with the sign "See Me," dead, adorned the east facade of the palace with the tableau of creation, showing that they existed in very early times, showing they existed in very early times. Yeah. Okay, talking about real people. Of these rulers, we again find a dim tradition in China in the Qi, also called Che Kultse, the 12 children of the Emperor of Heaven, Tian Huang, who had the body of a serpent. Each of these Qi are said to have lived 18,000 years and to have reigned in times anterior to Ti Huang, sovereign of the country in the middle of the land. From this short digression, let us return to the worship of the Mastodon, which we find very prevalent in India, and that of the elephant Ganesha, the god of prudence, of wisdom, of letters, represented as a red-colored man. Represented as what? Red-colored man, so-called red. Yo, guys, we cannot make this up, man. You mean copper-colored? You mean copper-colored, huh? The red man, huh? It's not literal, guys. Just like black, it's not Red man, huh? The copper-colored man, huh? You guys still there? Says the chat disconnected. Okay. With the head of an elephant, right? He is invoked by the Hindus of all sets of the outset of any business. No one would dream of writing a letter or a book without previously saluting Ganesha. His image is seen at the crossings of the roads, oftentimes decorated with a garland of flowers, whose offering of some pious devotee. Architects place it in the foundation of every edifice. It is sculptured or painted at the door of every house as a protection against evil. At one of the entrances of every Hindu city that is called Ganesha Pol, as well as in some conspicuous door of the palace. We have already seen that in the most ancient edifices of Mayaks, the mastodon's head, all right, they say mastodon, the elephant's head with its trunk is the principal and most common ornament. It's the most common ornament. Are these mere coincidences? The name Ganesha Pol would be, according to the Maya language, the head of Ganesha. Pol in Maya being the head. Huh. If I wish to go further, I might say that in Ganesha we have a dialectical pronunciation of conics, Ganesh, the serpents. No deity in the Hindu pantheon is so often addressed, and his titles are so numerous that, like Osiris, it might be named Meidionaimus or Midianimus with 10,000 names. With 10,000 names. So many are the legends accounting for the elephant head, it may be safely assumed that its origin is unknown. May not its worship have been introduced in India? With many other customs that, for instance, of carrying the children astride on the hip, of printing an impression of the human hand dipped in red liquid, like listen, red hand and red liquid, and they put it on the walls, right? On the walls of the temples. We're talking about the line of Sarah. What are we talking about? Just like the red hand and the shields in Ireland and these European coat of arms, which goes back to Sarah, line of Judah. What are we talking about? Because right, he showed us, and there's a red hand in these red hands are painted in the walls of the Maya temples, and it has something to do with family, like literally it told us. So dipped in red liquid on the walls of the temples and other sacred buildings by the devotees, etc., by colonists from Mayaks. It was the Maya who went and did that, he's saying, in Hindustan. Where these customs prevailed. That's where that prevailed. It's scattered around the world, but this is where it was most often found. And the worship of the Mastodon was widely spread, if not general. This surmise assumes the semblance of probability when consider that the body of Ganesha is painted red, the color characteristic of the American race, all right? Copper-colored tribes of America, all right? It's not me who's saying it. And the symbol of nobility of race among the Egyptians, huh? Among the ancient Egyptians, huh? Copper-colored tribes of America. The elephant was not among the animals worshipped by them. They do not seem to have been much acquainted with it, but the imprint of the red hand, so commonly seen on the walls of the temples of the Mayaks and India, has never been observed in the temples of Egypt. Neither did the Egyptian women carry their children astride on their hip, as do still those of India and Yucatan. Although many other customs were common to the people of these countries, it is probable that the colonists from the lands of the West, ancient America, who settled in the valleys of the Nile just means great river, guys. That's a Greek word, and the word Mississippi literally means great river. Replaced the worship of the mastodon, which did not exist in the country, by that of the bull, the largest and most useful of their domestic animals, and that this was the origin of their veneration for the bull Apis, as those who were initiated into the mysteries of Osiris well knew, being told that Apis ought to be regarded as a fair and beautiful image of their soul. Yeah. See, let's see. And I think we're gonna leave it there, guys. No, Kurimeo. I know you hate these moments, guys, especially when you're so into it. But trust me, guys, we got to do it in parts so people can actually sit down to watch them, you know. But I appreciate you guys being so into it. Like, it makes me want to be more into it and just, get more involved with the reading and understand better too, you know. Again, this was the book Sacred Mysteries Among the Mayas and the Quiches, 11,500 years ago. Their relation to the sacred mysteries of Egypt, Greece, Chaldea, and India, Freemasonry, in times anterior to the temples of Solomon. Illustrated by Augustus Le Plongeon. Augustus Le Plongeon. Let me see if I copied that. I did. Make sure I had the name of the book. Okay. So that was, again, the book from 1886. All right. So we're going to definitely continue reading from this book, guys. Don't worry. We're all the way in page 98, almost page 100. Like, we've read almost 100 pages, guys. Like, pat yourself on the back. You're getting through it. We're getting through it. We're getting through it, man. I might go live later, guys. I might go live later again. All right. Sorry about cutting it off. So, I got to actually go. I got an appointment. But yeah, I kind of took long to start. I was trying to start earlier so I can go a little longer. But it starts talking about the serpent. So we'll continue there, because that probably is going to be a longer part. So at least we got a lot of drop in this short, 1 hour, the last one. We got a lot of drop, guys. So this is good things to think about. Like, and we have so many videos proving what he's saying. Like, we got so many videos that we've shown that the elephant was here, all that, like, and who was the ancient Nagas that went to Hindustan? They were Mayas. Where was ancient Egypt? Where did they find Osiris statues? All that, like, it all correlates, right? And it's not, again, leopard skin. We're talking about jaguar skin. Yeah. Make sure you like and share. Make sure you subscribe. If you're not subscribed, you got to check, because they be unsubscribing. Make sure, if you're not subscribing, you've been enjoying these videos, and you've been thinking about it, just help me out. Help me out. Subscribe. It does make a difference. The more people subscribe, it does attract more people, So help me out. Algorithms start working a little better to start sharing my video, because I'm a little shadow banned, guys. So help me out. You see, like, nobody's really kind of watching the videos. Like, I get there's a core. I got a good core, 2,000-3,000 people that always kind of tune in. But everybody else is just too busy in the world. We keep learning. They think they got it all figured out, with the first couple videos. So we keep learning, man. We keep learning. Appreciate everybody in the chat, in the live chat that came through. Appreciate you guys, man. I'm just looking at the chat, all the names real quick. Just bear with me. Yeah. Let's see. Go out with Anno Domini. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. We're gonna go out with, shout out to Anno Domini Beats. That's from the actual YouTube audio library. Free music, guys, but this is well, it's not free. I mean, you gotta use it a certain way. You can't just grab it and go produce a record with it. But unless you contact him and buy it, the license. But for YouTube, you can use it. Like, check out the YouTube free audio library. You got some good music in there. Appreciate you guys again tuning in, making time out of your busy day in the middle of the day to be here. Thank you for that. Thank you. Appreciate it. We read all the way to the end today, 1 hour. So thanks for sticking around. Most of you did. I was watching. Thank you. If you came later, hope you enjoyed it. I got more parts coming. Make sure to check out all the recent videos, guys. I upload almost every day. A lot of you don't really watch all my videos, I don't know why, but it's all connected. Every video is connected. It's all connected. It's all real history. you have a better understanding, overstanding. You know, much love either way. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Pura vida. Hold on, let me get this ready. Yeah, much love. Mucho amor. Pure life. Pura vida. Oh, wow. Jaguar.